Hey guys, happy Friday. This video was actually a sequel to my video I did a few months back and titled Reframing the Mind, and the link to that video will be posted in the description below, so click on it. I mean, if you want to see it from the get-go, but I mean, this video is just basically a follow-up to how, things are, have been going my way lately and all that stuff. I mean, with the changes and all, and just, I mean, I went through life, and of course I've had all these obsessions. I mean, obsessions that I had from knee-high as a grasshopper all the way into adulthood. And, I mean, just, just like, these big main obsessions and certain other things that are in a sense kind of like a figment of, my obsessive, brain pattern and all that stuff. And so anyway, I mean, I just went through all these years with, all these scenarios playing in my brain and stuff like that. And of course, and at times, like, feeling so happy and enjoying the adrenaline rush, so to speak, because if you focus on the obsession and things are just temporarily going the way you want it to, you'll feel, this big burst of happiness and enjoy it to the fullest. But as soon as things start dying down, and as soon as things start taking, even the slightest turn in the direction you don't want to go, I mean, that's like a frustration trigger. And then, you just like, feel so very low, feel so very depressed, and feeling sorry for yourself, and just, I mean, it's a former therapist of mine, told me, to stop the poor me syndrome. And, just, in a sense, maybe one of the things I've endured throughout the years is the poor me syndrome, and just feeling sorry for myself, wanting others around me to feel sorry for me, to comfort me, and da-da-da-da. Then even more frustrations got, fuel, because, things exactly the way I wanted them to happen didn't happen that way. And, it's like, this continuous up and down cycle, up and down. And so anyway, at this point in time, which is pretty late in life, but better late than never, you just gotta say to yourself, is all these, ups and downs, and especially in the very long run, that are like, whenever really, what can figure it out with common sense, is it really worth continuing my life this way, and getting down to the nitty gritty and doing the research, I pretty much had to tell myself, it really wasn't worth continuing to, stay in that mindset. So I had to, in time, I had to learn how to be able to perceive things in a different light. For instance, you have all these people around you, just wherever, Walmart, or a place you inhabit regularly, you have all these individuals that are, adjacent to you, and you just think, to yourself, you think, well, maybe whenever the person, saw me for the first time and all that, they portrayed me as this being. And then you want to, them to continue to, portray you in their brain of, as life goes along, of something so admirable. Just something as maybe coming across as a very superior being and all that stuff, and and then you get to thinking, well, somebody doesn't come across as being a friendly person. They're just they're just a negative impact that that stimulates this anger and all that stuff, and and over time, you gotta learn to change things around in the light and get your perceptions the way they should actually be, or else gonna keep going down this wrong road. So I had to totally change work on changing my brain chemistry, and work on getting my thoughts reacting, the way they should be reacting, instead of have them be totally off. If there's a whole slew of things I could go on about, I could go on and on about my obsessions. I could go on and on about these other aspects of my life, but that would make way, way too long of a video. So let me just kind of narrow things down in a nutshell to where hopefully you'll still understand. If somebody, comes across as unfriendly, you got to learn, that. You got to learn that their seemingly hatred may not be a direct of, you. Maybe a direct of, the environment they're in, the frustrations they endure, day to day, and, just these other negative aspects that they have to interact with. And, Sometimes they may come across as friendly, sometimes they'll come across as not so friendly at all. I mean, a lot of it has to do with, how their daily chores of life is going and stuff like that, and what kind of mood they've been acclimated to. I mean, it's like I was expecting somebody to portray me in this image, this, in these exact same, images, and, and let's say if I had the power to actually be the person I'm thinking about and walk in their shoes and be gifted the ability to, experience their exact thought process, and I would find out in a heartbeat that what I'm expecting of this person ain't occurring in their brain at all. The way, I'm magnifying it to be, it ain't. I mean, it's maybe they're very little, maybe they're not at all, but it ain't happening exactly the way I'm thinking it's happening. So, gotta learn to, be considerate of other people and just, think, well, somebody's, having a bad day, they're in a good mood, but, it's important to, to still, try to be polite, try to help others, because, if you just feel this form of hatred in you, and you react on the hatred and stuff like that, and if people find out about it, they're gonna even see me in a worse light than they already saw me. So, don't want to make it worse. So, you just got to, talk with a therapist and find out how to, what I've talked about, reframe your thoughts to keep these negative results from, coming back. And it takes curbing obsessions. Some obsessions I can get by with, minimizing them and try not to let them interfere with my daily routines, and others I found, it isn't really necessary at all, so get rid of it. So that's one thing I've had to learn to do, and another thing is I've learned the hard way in life is don't hold grudges. Especially if somebody hasn't done something as blunt as shooting your dog, harming your family members, stuff like that. I can understand in a sense that would be hard to, forgive somebody. But if somebody just did something was mean to you, was very unkind to you and stuff like that, you just... There's really no use in holding a grudge, because, like my therapist told me, if you holding grudges actually harms you more than it does the other person, because there's a very likely probability out there that, whoever, you're holding a grudge against doesn't give a flying rat's ass about your anger towards them. They don't give a flying rat's ass. the probability for that result is very high. So, I mean, you're just basically torturing yourself for nothing, and you know. And I also watch these videos on YouTube about, like, you know, letting go of grudges, and you know, they basically say that, you know, the grudge holder is more than likely, you know, guilty of all these of all these wrongs that he or she committed in their life themselves. I mean, they're probably guilty of, like, you know, doing a selfish act, or, you know, some other source of unfaithfulness. I mean, you know, and they go on to say, I mean, if something we're not perfect, I mean, we make mistakes, and I mean, they basically go on to say that, you know, if you're, you know, making mistakes that are, like, you know, the same intensity or almost the same intensity as something somebody else did, you know, of what is pissing you off, I mean, you're just kind of defeating the purpose of holding a grudge, since, I mean, you probably committed a similar act yourself. I mean, which that makes sense, and really, I mean, holding a grudge, to make a long story short, you never find, oftentimes you don't find, you know, peace with yourself, because whoever you're holding a grudge against them, or anytime you see them around, anytime you even think about them, you're just going to get pissed off. And I've told myself before, well, I can hate an individual, I can hold a grudge against them, but I can concentrate on not focusing on that, and which is not possible, because in that set of mind, I mean, the anger is going to always come back whether you intend it to or not. So, you know, just letting go of grudges is another way to, you know, reframe your mind. And let's see if there's anything else I want to cover. So anyway, I mean, oh, here's another thing. I mean, you got to, you know, learn that in this life, certain things that you want so very bad, or certain things that you have, like these movie scenes playing on your mind, and, you know, thinking, well, it would be great if they would happen in real life. I mean, there's things like that would be great if they happened to you, but it's just not possible. So that's another way, you know, you have to reframe your mind, you know, is just, you know, I mean, there are things in life that are achievable, like maybe you can get a promotion if you put in your 100% effort. Maybe you can, like, you know, have some other form of success, like maybe being, you know, an outstanding soccer player, or maybe a basketball player, even a piano player if you really put your mind to it. But still, I mean, there are things in this life that you dream of that just aren't gonna happen, so you might as well, you know, lower your expectations in some areas. Yes, and learn to, focus on the things you can do and the things that are attainable and not the things that are impossible, especially when it's been proven in the long run. And some things, there's certain things are attainable, but but what's gonna have to happen for these certain blue areas is you're gonna have to change your lifestyle. Of course, reframe the mind, change your lifestyle, change your ways. To a large extent, change your ways, change your perceptions, and maybe even possibly a lifestyle change, or these certain areas are not going to be possible for you either. So if you're having frustrations in life and you can't get over your frustrations, if you're going through with self-pity, if you're feeling sorry for yourself, if you're becoming overly frustrated, staying angry at times, my advice is to find a therapist and listen to a therapist's advice about your frustrations and be compliant with your therapist. Be compliant of the instructions your therapist is telling you to carry out, or you're not gonna get the true happiness you want. And if you're not compliant the way you should be, you're just gonna get the same results of life, and in the long run, makes life turn out to be not so meaningful. You gotta live a fulfilling life, not a life out in utopia. Anyway, that's just basically how I've learned to, reframe my mind and get on with life. And, this is my advice. This is my venting, and I hope this was helpful and trying to, pinpoint, things the way they are to the very best of my ability. And I hope I came through to you tonight, and have a great weekend.